So you might have heard, huh? My wife going to have another baby, huh? So I'm not going to play tonight. I'm not going to play the next night. So I think Spencer, that binky is not for you, you moron.
The Florida Panthers have won the Stanley Cup.
Let's go Panthers! Let's go Panthers! Let's go Panthers! Let's go! Go!
Puck drop. And 3, 2, 1,
Let's go Panthers! Let's go Panthers! Let's go Panthers! Let's go! Go!
All right, Panther fans, here we go. We got 3 wins in a row, and now Bubba's having a double. A double? Well, you know what I'm saying. He's having another kid. See, I had 3 kids, so Bubba's got a little bit before he catches up with me. So Bobrovsky is not even on the trip because his wife is either giving birth now or supposed to give birth any minute now. So Spencer Knight is in, so we had to call up Drieger to be Knight's backup. And since Samoskevich is the only one on the team on an entry-level contract whose waiver is exempt, you guessed it. He's technically in the AHL, but the Checkers don't even play for the 2 games that Bob is supposed to miss. So just don't even get me started. All I care about is this is a good opportunity for Spencer Knight, all right? And I don't care what Verhaeghe does on Power Play 1. When Mackey comes back, he gets his job back. Right, Paul? Right, Paul? Right? Now, this could be a trap game. Pittsburgh is not exactly last year's... their last year's news, we'll put it that way. Pittsburgh's not good, okay? And we have had success against Jari in the past anyway. I can't talk. We should beat Pittsburgh. It might be a trap game, though, right? Because we've got just this quick little road trip. Then we're back home. And then next week, the late games begin. So if you think I can't talk now, wait till the games start playing at 10 o'clock. I think there's one that's even 10:30. It's not going to be an enjoyable week unless you like hearing me bitch and complain, and you guys should have a great time. So we'll figure out how we're gonna handle that, because those are late nights. There's no doubt about that. But for now, we got Pittsburgh, we got Philly. Let's keep it going. All right, Spencer, do what you've been doing. All right, and yeah, Bob gets his job back when he comes back. I've seen a couple people thinking that Spencer might be ready. But it's not like Bob's playing as bad as he was before, long ago, before we won the Cup, when we thought Spencer might take over for Bob. He's just kind of coasting. He's just coasting a little bit. I would like his numbers to get a little bit better. Just don't make me lift in the first period. All right, Panthers? Other than that, anything is excusable. Give me 2. All right, so it's 2-1 Pittsburgh. After 1, Panthers open up the scoring, and of course it gets waved off with offsides. Lundell was offsides. And then Pittsburgh gets 2 goals inside of a minute. I think the kid's name is Pickering. I think that's it. He got his first career goal. And then Malkin gets 1. Let's just say it was a combination effort, especially on the second one, where the defense was not in great position and Malcolm was kind of right there in front of the net. You would have liked to see Spencer come out and challenge him a little bit, but it was 2-0, and then Chucky gets 1 towards the end. We're out shooting them like 14-4 or something like that. We've kind of outplayed them, but a couple of the pucks found their way back into the net. We look good. Fourth line looks good. Everything looks good. Boquist is on the 3rd line. Gadjevich is on the 4th line. The only thing I'll say is that the more that I see how Maurice is tinkering with the defense, the more I become convinced that we will be in the market for a top 4 defenseman before the trade deadline. Maybe not just even right at the trade deadline. He's got Mikkola with Schmidt tonight, and then Boquist with Kulikov. And I just don't... Boquist is just not impressed me. Every time he's on the ice, it is an adventure. I'm trying to think about, you know who he reminds me of? Remember how Mahura looked pretty good the one year, and then he came back and he kind of was like scatterbrained and just, you were never really relaxed with him on the ice. That's what Boquist reminds me of on defense. So, all right, let's move on to second period. It's 3-1 Pittsburgh after 2. We're out shooting them. I think it's something like 25-9 or something. The goal, the last one I got by Knight, he didn't even see the shot. It was just from a really odd angle. I think it was Letang. And Schmidt was screening Knight at the side of the net. And he didn't even know the shot. He didn't even know the shot had been taken. So we are getting goalie by Tristan Jarry. That's where we are right now. But I think that when you look at the season that we've had so far, and the fact that we have no points when trailing after 2 periods, I think that changes tonight. I'm not quitting on this game for whatever reason. Let's do this.
We are going to overtime!
All right, well, I really wanted to come in here and clap 5 times and yell 2 points, but almost. We ended up being down 4-1. We come back roaring for 3 straight goals. We get it to overtime, and then a minute and a half into overtime, after we had a 3-on-1 that Forsling had just broken up, he was still on the ice for a 2-on-1 coming back the other way, and he was just absolutely exhausted, couldn't really do a whole lot, and Knight gets beat short side by Rust. And first thing, well, I'm going to say 2 things. First thing, thank you all for coming out to the live streams. We had a great time. Thank you for the enormous amount of super chats. It really, it doesn't just make a difference. It is the difference. You guys are what keeps this channel going. The second thing is, as I've seen some people complaining about Spencer Knight, let's chill. This was the first game all year he gave up more than 3 goals. Bob's pretty much given up 4 goals every game. Okay? The first game of the year, Knight gave up 4 goals. And then after that, he'd only given up 2 or 3, and mostly 2, and then plus had a shutout. Tonight was not his best game of his career. It's going to happen. All right? We come back, we get a point. I'm okay with it. Okay? He's strung together some good games here recently. So, the second goal and the goal in overtime, you'd like to see him come out and challenge the shooter a little bit more, but it was also a 2-on-1 in overtime. So there's only so much he's going to be able to do. So, what do we see on the ice? Chicken Chuck! Chucky! 4-point night. He almost had a goal in overtime. In fact, it was when his shot missed that Pittsburgh came back the other way and got their goal. So Chucky looks good. Chucky is starting to look a little bit more like what we expected to see. Top line, Barkov, Reinhardt doing their thing out there. Verhaeghe looks like he's settling back into himself. Now, Jesper Boquist is a good young player, and I like what I've seen from him, with the exception of any time he ends up in front of the net trying to play defense, it's not good. It's bad. So, I actually suspect that might be why Maurice likes him on the 3rd line as opposed to the 4th line, because from what I've seen, I trust Samaskevich's defense more than Boquist. But he did get a goal, and of course I bitched about Adam Boquist, and he's the one that actually tied the game. I believe it was his goal that tied the game. Defensively, Maurice was messing with the pairs a lot. He had Schmidt with Mikkola for a while, and I think in the first 2 periods, Schmidt had a really good game. He was active, he was very physical, and then he flipped things around back again, and I saw Mikkola back with Kulikov. So, again, whoever, Forsling, Ekblad, Mikkola, that's the top 3. And it wouldn't surprise me to see Belinskas draw back into the lineup with Mikkola on that second pair against Philadelphia. Schmidt's had a good game. Adam Boqvist is just, when he's on the ice, defensively, it's like I said, it's kind of like Mahura was before we moved on from him. What else did we see? I think we only had the one power play. Kachuk took a massive, not a massive, but he took a pretty nasty stick to the face. There was no call there. But the rest pretty much kept it even. There wasn't a lot to be called, and they didn't call it. So Pittsburgh's been playing better. Jari made a ton of saves. I think we had something like 80 shot attempts. And Jari played well. And he's one of those goalies that'll give you a game like that every once in a while. And we still got 4 on him. You see what I'm saying? So I wouldn't even blink at this game. The fact that we finally did come back in the third period. Remember, we had no points so far after being down after 2 periods. So the fact that we came back from a 3-goal deficit, they could have just as easily laid down and said, oh, well, whatever. So go to Philadelphia, get the 2 points, and that gives you 3 of the 4 points on the road, and that's, I'm not worried about it. And for those of you worried about Spencer Knight, his numbers are still better than Bob's. And so he didn't have a great game. It wasn't terrible. He did make some saves in the third period that kept things, that kept us in it. Like I said, the second and the last goal. But it's overtime. When it's 3-on-3, it's designed for goals to happen, and they generally do. So, no complaints. I'm happy that the guys stuck with the game. They did dominate a lot in the offensive zone. I mean, we outshot them. I think it was 40-15 at one point. I think after overtime, 44-15 or 40-15 before overtime, I should say. So don't even worry about it. We're going to see Knight again in Philadelphia, and then Saturday is when I believe Bobrovsky's supposed to be back, and that'll be San Jose, and they're playing better. So, the Eastern Conference, when you look at the standings, I mean, it's just tight. It's just really tight. Now, the Panthers aren't going to have any issues, I don't believe, making the playoffs as long as they continue to play like this, because Toronto, Florida, Tampa, and then the rest of the Atlantic is just kind of not knowing what to do with themselves right now. I still don't understand why Ottawa sucks. Every year you think this is going to be the year where they're going to take the next step, and then they go and get Ullmark, and they're worse somehow. So I know a few last week when they were losing 5 and 6 in a row, whatever it was, I was a little bit concerned about if they continued to play that way, that they would struggle to make the playoffs. But I don't really think that that's going to be a problem, because there's nobody else in the Atlantic to even sniff the top 3 in all reality. So we're good there. So don't worry about it. All right? It was a fun game. Lots of goals. We need a defenseman. I think most of the games when we're winning and losing, if you look at the summation of all of it, we are short one defenseman. Losing OEL and Montour, we're going to have to, if we want to win the cup again, we are going to have to replace one of those guys, which means we're going to have to give up assets to get a guy. Because I like Balinskis, but he doesn't seem to be consistent enough to play with Mikkola. I wouldn't put him in the playoffs in the second pair right now. Boqvist, absolutely not. Kulikov can hold his own, but then that has you on the bottom pair with Balinskis, Schmidt, Boqvist, and I don't think that's where we're going to want to go. So at some point, I think we're going to make a move to pick up a legitimate top 4, maybe even a top pairing defenseman, and put him with Mikkola, so that that'll give us a little bit of extra depth there. In terms of the forwards, maybe an Okposo type, but we look good. We're okay. I know we lost this game, and don't get down on Spencer Knight, people. I saw a few people in the chat already getting down on him. I don't understand it. The last game he pitched a shutout, right? This was probably his worst game of the season, but if he's had 9 starts and this was the worst game, we're in good shape. We're fine. Let him develop. He's still only 23 years old. He doesn't get to play as consistent as he probably should for a kid that's trying to develop. I mean, look at what, I'm not saying Spencer Knight would be Vasilevsky, but Vasilevsky was playing a lot of hockey by the time he was 23. So Knight's going to be just fine. I expect that he'll bounce back against the Flyers on Thursday. All right. We came back. We almost won, but I'm happy with the way that they came back. That showed me something, right? That showed me that when they put their mind to it, they can still be the comeback Cats. And I don't even count the overtime in the regular season from the perspective of in the playoffs, it's regular overtime. So we get the 1 point. I'll take it. We'll move on to Philly. I will see you all at noon tomorrow. Unos.